We're back. Nightwing. We are on to episode 3, which is Rough Justice is the collection. I think that's what they called the graphic novel that they pulled issues 9 through 18 into. No much of a story here. They came from various places. You can see I paid $4 at Book Nook for this one, whereas I paid $1 for this one. I think $4 is the most that I paid for any of the issues in this arc for these various things. So let's get on into it. With issue 9, I don't remember if I said, so we can cut that if it didn't, June of 1997 is where this starts out. And with our reoccurring theme of a falling Nightwing. Those are some eyes. Oh, what is this an ad for? I've never heard of the movie Warriors of Virtue. Completely flew under the radar. Well, 97, I would have been 6. I guess this isn't the point. Anyway, Nightwing, swinging through the city, right? Die Trying is, I guess, the name of this particular issue. Swinging through, straight into action, and falling into a roof. Because, of course, that's how we start out this one. So he's falling into an abandoned mall and, of course, does his Nightwing acrobatic thing in order to not break his neck and instead land on his back from that height up. But, you know, of course, he's fine. There's a kidnapping in progress going on. He can hear a child. And then these guys, and they got a bunch of guns. So that automatically goes into fight. You get some really cool artwork during this. It's all basically one fight scene as he just moves from one place to the next inside this mall trying to take down these bad guys now. Then you get a bit where he's on top of the like display car in the mall and somebody left the keys in. So then that takes off and it goes into a fountain. Really? Back to back? No, I skipped a page. Okay. That's a really deep fountain, which is something that he mentions here. Something's off. It's really weird. And then he like goes shopping and he has a shopping cart. No, he's using that to defeat the bad guys in the chop and save. I suppose that was probably a shop and save. And someone has graffitied over it with a butcher block knife. A what? Yeah, in order to save him against the bullets, he's in essentially a grocery store, which is in a mall. And all the malls I've never been in, I've never found one that had a grocery store in it. But anyway, he loads up on the big cans in order to use them to block the bullets as he rides the cart to them. And then he goes to save the kid and Two-Face. Well, that's interesting. Why is he behind this stuff at the mall? So that's going on. And then the dilemma, got to save the kid or let Two-Face get away. And that's, you know, same choice they make all the time, isn't it? He's going to save the kid. But then he's falling. And we get this like falling thing, huh? And falling and falling. And then Batman? He misses the kid. And there's just blood everywhere. I went, oh God, in my notes here. That's a lot of blood. But then what's going on? What we have all of a sudden Batman and Robin and Catwoman? No, Batwoman? What's going on here? And he's just covered in blood. And you get a bit of, oh, what's going on? So there's a theme throughout all of this. And then it's kind of like revealed right there at the end. They're talking about different phobias. Scarecrow. So Scarecrow's hanging out there now. They bring Scarecrow into it. This was an interesting episode. Just a roller coaster, almost nonstop action. And then you get to the end and find out, oh, it's all happening in his head because Scarecrow's been brought into things with Inspector Soames over there. And that's issue 1. Or that's issue 9. And that explains the cover of issue 10 a bit more. The grieving, crying Nightwing with all 3 of them behind him, judging harshly. Opening up to him screaming while he's brushing his teeth. Like, yeah, brushing your teeth can be kind of scary. This is a really interesting start to it. You kind of know what's going on here, right? Because of the last issue where it left off with everything. But it's like there's a neighborhood. It's called the neighborhood. and Bruce Wayne is his neighbor, and he's like living a normal life. Bruce Wayne is married to Selina. They live next door, super rich, have a sports car, of course. You get some more intrigue between what's going on here. Dick is at home and has kids. That's interesting. This clickety, no, it's clackety clack. It's all clackities throughout all of this. That's a theme that happens throughout this issue a lot. Because again, Scarecrow. And then you get characters coming in like the Joker is his boss. That at his job that he has. Clackety clack. Yep, more Joker's the boss yelling at him. Oh, I thought this was interesting. The other appearances that you kind of get, you get Poison Ivy and Penguin are his neighbors, I guess. More neighbors in this. Yeah. So normal stuff, you know, his wife is not at work. His wife is at home. His wife is cheating on him with someone called Roy Harper, who I had to look up. I didn't know them at that point. It's another DC character who was, if I remember correctly, I actually didn't write it down. I just looked it up after the fact. I think it was Speedy, who was like Green Arrow's sidekick, who then became Arsenal and then Red Arrow. I don't know enough about that. I do like Green Arrow, but I haven't read anything. So Roy Harper just came out of nowhere. But yeah, that's obviously like one of Nightwing's previous nemesis, maybe? Or someone he knows from outside of this. Clackety clack. I thought this was a cool art page with everything here. As he's Scarecrow's narrowing down what phobias actually affect him. Clackety 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 clack, right? So there's this whole thing here with his paperboy, which was right back here at the beginning, JT, his paperboy. And then, yeah, his name is JT, Jason Todd. And he's like super dead skeleton something. And that, well, you know, really freaks out. And that's going on. So I'm beginning to think the Robin that was falling that Nightwing let die was Jason Todd in this storyline. I could just look that up, but where's the fun in that? That's what I'm beginning to think here, because we keep having that reoccurring Robin falling. So maybe that's what it is. Anyway, he manages to knock out Scarecrow. He gets out of the dream, knocks him out, and the gloves are off. And that's where we end issue 10. That brings us to the cover of issue 11. Scarecrow, clearly, and old Nightwing, graying, aging, bearded Nightwing. So that's a thing that's going on. And we open up with Soames this time. Oh, look, that's what happened to Scarecrow. Yeah, Nightwing kind of took care of that and tied him up and gave him back to Soames. So that's a whole thing that's going on here. So we get a bit of Nightwing in here, trying to get through and work it through his system, right? They kind of mention here that he's still going to have flashes of it. The drugs that were in the psychoactive drugs that he administered are still in his system. Disorienting episodes. So, you know, little flashes, things like that. That's what's going on. And then as Nightwing's just trying to like go sleep it off, here comes his landlady that's been kicking around this whole time. She's always around and is trying to bring him some muffins while he's fully in his Nightwing suit and knocking things over, trying to be quiet. So that's a thing that's going on. You get a little back and forth between Soames, and then it goes back to Nightwing or Dick Grayson in bed, and he's getting a flash of Two-Face. So there's one of those disorienting episodes that gets him up out of bed very quickly and then spills all the breakfast, and he has to, oh, you know, it's nothing. It's fine. Just a fever. Yeah, okay. So that's going on. So then we get a whole thing here with Soames getting into a gunfight with Mr. Desmond's henchman. So that's going on. There's a line here where he goes, I know who my friends are, Mr. Smith and Wesson. I was like, all right, that's silly, but pretty cool. Yeah. Soames is something. He wasn't fever bound for very long, not at 100%, but back out, and then he goes to visit Scarecrow and see if he can get the antidote for what's going on. And then, the pounding that's in his head, bam, 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 bam. But it's not in his head. Scarecrow hears it too, or Dr. Crane at this point, either one. I don't know how you distinguish between one's identity and the other one. But anyway, it's the police. They're taking him back to Arkham. Nightwing is off to find Soames. And he knows where he'll do that. Blockbuster, we've been talking about him last time. This is the first time he's appeared in this arc in particular, and he's at an old folks home. visiting his mother, his old mother, who would dare show up there with a gun, but Soames. Also, his mother seems to be either really old and dementia and not doesn't care about a guy coming in and pointing a gun around, or she's just really used to it because of her gigantic son. But then who shows up? It's Nightwing. So they're going to take him on together, maybe. Or at least they're going to try. This is a cool little image here. It can't be a fair, straight-on fight. You got to make the hero choose something. Who's he going to go after? Because now there are innocents involved, and they're just old seniors. And Nightwing, of course, is blaming himself for it, which, you know, some legitimacy to it. Soames tries to take on Blockbuster, puts a couple of rounds into his chest, which obviously does nothing, and he gets slammed into the ceiling. But not just slammed into the ceiling. You then get a little bit of, oh, you hear the sound like a drumstick twisting. Nope, that's Soames's neck. Ooh, so that happened. I guess after he finished slamming him to the ceiling, he did that. But don't worry, it's all self-defense, so he'll be fine. He'll get off. I know we're really worried about Blockbuster there. So Soames is dead. That was quick. They put a lot of time and effort into his storyline with everything, and then just kind of ended it. Oh no, wait, he's still alive. Dun dun dun. So that's how that issue ends. Couple of cliffhangers there. On to issue 12. Issue 12, we've got a cover of a lot of fire. There's a tire, some cars, like a junkyard. Interesting. Here we go. So we start out this one. This one's called Mutt. We started out with Nightwing taking down some carjackers. That's how he refers to them, and then takes them down and talks about the whole thing. Except the driver, has a gun as well and starts shooting at Nightwing, because of course he does. So, you know, all in the day's life, he manages to escape from that and what's going on. And, oh, look, rough justice. He says the name of the thing. And now we get to cut to Soames in the hospital where they are going, he's technically alive, but, you know, he'll need a miracle in order to try to get him back to some state of living. And then we get a bit of Tad. Tad's been kicking around here for a bit, and I have to admit, just because I bought all the comics, I've seen Tad in the cover, and I have a feeling I know where this is going, but one step at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. He's got a quick temper, and he's got a weird view on certain things. He is making the kids, you know, wash off the graffiti that they did, and it's like, oh, well, that doesn't seem too bad. And then you get to the point where he beat the snot out of these kids to make them clean up the graffiti. Maybe not necessary. And so here's a little bit that I just wrote down as a human glue trap. This is, I think they introduce here in a second, Mutt, one of the carjackers that Nightwing was just stopping, who came and got his address and snuck into Nightwing's apartment specifically, as Nightwing had a had a glue trap set up in front of his TV for this specific instance. But in not really a twist, I guess. He's the hero. He's doing the right thing, and I didn't realize the backstory yet until he takes care of him, gives him clothes, offers him to try to help him out, keep him out of juvie, and the reason for that, he was in juvie, juvenile hall, I think. Juvie hall, they specifically called it. But anyway, after his parents died. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he went into the system and then Bruce Wayne adopted him. I don't know if that's been the story in all of the different arcs or, you know, reboots, but that's what's going on here. So that was something I learned. But Mutt doesn't take him up on the offer and heads out. Nightwing follows him and finds out he lives in a tire park. And he's in with a pretty rough crowd who is also a fan of violence. Tad would probably like these guys. No, actually, Tad would not. But so that's going on, and they light his stuff on fire. And now you have a fire in the tire park. So that's, you see where it's coming from, the cover. Mutt's been knocked out. Nightwing has to save him from the tire fire and then alert the cops as to what's going on so that he can take him and get him into the hospital. Because obviously Nightwing can't just walk into a hospital and check someone in. But you know who can go and check up on him? Dick Grayson. But before he checked up on him, just to mention here, he went to his job at the cop bar and talked to the bartender owner guy and set him up with a new place to live. So now Mutt has a family. How cool is that? And that's where the issue ends. Almost. We got to have a little bit more with the landlady who's got a bad feeling about stuff and what's going on. And then it's dark and someone is in his apartment. Uh-oh. Who is it? It's Batman. And that's where that one ends. Issue 13. A building with lightning. Batman and Nightwing, just like old times. But this time, Nightwing is in the lead. Or so he thinks. Get this really cool page here. With them just like old times, you know. You have Batman and Robin, but now it's Nightwing and Batman as they take down some crime. They just, you know, that's what they do. For them, with their family, the Wayne extended family, you know, you go to visit, and rather than sit around and catch up on old times or go get a bite to eat, you go fight crime. That's what they do. And you also get a little bit of the plot of what's going on here. Frankie Deaver's bachelor party. His dad is Lunch Meat Deaver, a specialist in murder for money. So he's they're breaking up this to get to, you know, lunch meat, but there's Frankie first. They have to take down this guy. They're all bad. What? Apparently there was a receipt in my comic. You can't even read it anymore. Very old. Oh, this was from the person who bought it in 1997. I can barely make it out, but this was bought on September 6th of 1997. October. That doesn't make any sense. That still doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how this is possible. This must not be a receipt for this. Why was this in the comic? All right, well, here's a relic of history as well. Cool. We could take that out. Anyway, so they gotta save people's lives. Of course, you know, was he in the cake? Why? Was he in the cake with guns, or was he just standing behind it? But of course the guns come out, as they do. Yeah, so, you know, stopping the bad guys, saving some good guys maybe. I don't know if Frankie's really a good guy. He's the son of somebody who's not so good. You get a little bit here, again mentioning he needs a car. That's been an ongoing theme for many issues. Pretty much as soon as he left Batman, he's been like, I gotta get a car, I gotta get a car. So eventually he's probably going to need to get a car. They keep mentioning that, and then you get a lot of, they're tracking down this lead. That's the cleanup crew that Blockbuster is now using, Lunch Meat. That's how they get rid of the bodies from their business that they're doing. And then you also get a bit of interplay with Nightwing, who's so twisted in his own mind of like trying to stand on his own feet and not needing Batman's help more so than, you know, sticking to just the crime fighting part. And then back to Soames. Soames, who's been in a coma, but still alive, needs experimental drugs. Boy, who could have seen this one coming? I don't know if it's a trope at this point that like experimental drug. I don't know what's going on with Soames. We'll find out as it goes through. But experimental drugs in a comic book usually only goes one way, and I don't know at what point they started using that so frequently. But there's some talking going on there, and then you get to meet Lunch Meat because he couldn't get to the wedding on time. Oh no, because of the bachelor party. Nightwing was there. What are they gonna do? This guy. This guy kind of looks like Danny DeVito a bit, honestly. But that would be Penguin, right? I don't know if they ever brought Lunch Meat in. Maybe if Danny DeVito wants to take a break from Always Sunny. Anyway, we get a bit of stuff going on here. Batman and Nightwing are just listening in to try to figure out what's going on. They're gleaming information and kind of talking amongst themselves here at this point. And then we get Blockbuster, who's so mad. It's Batman. He's not afraid of Nightwing at all, but he is afraid of Batman. Sure, that makes sense. Back at his apartment after a bit with the landlady, you know, unfortunately, this is Nightwing's lair at this point. He doesn't really have too much, and he explains, well, you know, I don't have deep pockets, and, well, there is a trust fund. A what? A trust fund? Oh, here's a little bit with Tad. You know, we got to cut back to the Tad storyline just for a few pages so that you know that Tad's showing up. You know, he's just, there's a guy with these two kids and he's buying them ice cream. And then he's like, uh-oh, that's not good. Well, okay, hold on before you jump to conclusions. He is their uncle. Well, you know, calls him a pervert and beats the crap out of him and continues to beat the crap out of him. Tad. And then you get Batman and Nightwing again to end out the issue as they head in to find out more about Lunch Meat in his lunch meat facility, which, of course, got to have somebody with a chainsaw in the lunch meat processing. So he cuts the thing that they're standing on, like the bridge, and then they start falling into like boiling giant barrels of lunch meat. Is that how lunch meat is made? Why would it be big vats of... Anyway, that's where that one ends. Bringing us to issue 14, Batman and Nightwing. Oh no, they didn't fall into the thing, but instead they're tied up and captured in some way, and they're going to be fed to pigs, but they've got a bunch of tusks. They're pink. Are they boars? Are they pink boars? Anyway, they eat human flesh. That's, that's how he takes care of bodies now, lunch meat, by feeding them to hungry, ravenous pigs. So that's going on. How are they going to get out of this one? How are they going to get out of this one? Well, Batman, he asks if his suit is electrically insulated. Why are you asking? Zap. He's got a new toy on his belt that can send out an electric zap at 50K volt shock. 50,000 volts. He specifically, they spelled out K like that, but yeah, 50K, 50,000 volts. So he shocks them. That's how they escape. But of course, Batman couldn't tell him that. There was no time. He just had to swing in action, and Nightwing feels like the sidekick who's not actually contributing anything. But, he, partner. Ooh, sassy. So after they escape, they get out of everything here, and then Nightwing has to tell him the truth and tell him how he's feeling and reveal all these emotions. And Batman takes it personal, and he's like, I can't believe you talked about Gotham that way, or I'm surprised, but, didn't have a hometown. He just decided to plant his flag and make this his hometown. And then Batman just leaves and drives off. Just, okay, bye. A little bit of Soames, but they're like down there looking for a body. Don't know what's going on with that. You get a bit of the neighbors talking, his landlady and one of the other neighbors, and they're talking about how rough everything is around here, and specifically who's watching through the windows. It's Tad, and he mentions that they need a guardian angel, so that's going on. Then we get back to Nightwing, but only for a minute, because then we're back to Blockbuster, and oh look, Lady Vic, she's back. We saw her this first time this episode of recording, so this arc, she was around in the last one. She's back, and what's going on, and now has to partner up with this massive guy here in the cowboy hat, Stallion. They have a bit of funny back and forth banter. This is just ridiculous. And then after checking in and, talking about some of his feelings with Barbara, instead he calls for Bruce. Bruce isn't around, but he talks to Alfred. And Alfred's talking to him, and, he gets to tell everything to Alfred instead of telling it to Bruce. I don't know if the expectation there is to then pass it along or what's going on, but, he talks him down, and then we end out with him going back to work at the cop bar, and then there's this guy with a perfectly mimicked New Jersey accent, and it's Alfred. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, he says, thanks, Alfred. His friends call him Matches. And I couldn't, the hair and everything, but obviously a wig. I was looking, I'm pretty sure at this point what I'm like, okay, so this has got to be Matches is Alfred so that he can go talk to him in person, I guess, because of the mustache. That's what I was really going for. It kind of looks like him, right? With hair. So that's where we end out with Matches. And I went, oh, this is going to be funny. Issue 15, just a real close up of Nightwing's face, and we go right into it. Hey, so where's Matches? What? What's going on here? Two-Face? Kidnap girls? What? Soames? I think. What? Who? What? Why are they taking pictures? What is going on here? I don't actually think that's Soames. Oh, look, it's Batman and Robin. Okay, so this is a flashback. Okay, so, right? Batman and Robin instead. We're going through a flashback here. And then we come back to, wait, what? This is essentially my reaction as I'm reading it for the first time. Where did Matches go? What happened here? We're all of a sudden just back to Batman and Nightwing. Batman drove off in the last one. And now they're here, reading. I legitimately, I wrote down in my notes here, I had to double check that I was reading the right issue and that I hadn't skipped anything. This is issue number 15. It's small down there, but it is 15. And the last one we read was issue 14. Maybe something I know sometimes they do a little thing where sometimes there'll be, a second kind of plot line that isn't technically important, and they put that in a different issue to try to get you to pick up that week's or that month's issue of Batman as well. That's my best guess. I didn't actually look at that to confirm if there was like the Batman. I don't think Alfred had his own comic at this point. So, but anyway, we're just back to it. Roll with it, because you don't get any more information than that. They're listening to a tape and still trying to figure this whole thing out. They're also both soaking wet because they were out in the rain. What? That's not really explained. I don't. Anyway, they're listening to a tape. The landlady interrupts because she's just trying to be friendly. She clearly likes Dick, but something's going on. But they're listening to the tape and they get a confession. Or, there is a confession on the tape. But is that going to count? It might, depending on how they use it. They go pay a visit to Lunchmeat and his son to show him the tape of Frankie, his son, confessing. And, it's an illegal wiretap, sure, but they're vigilantes, so, what's going to happen there. But the real threat, they threaten them with revealing it to Blockbuster. And then they're off to see Blockbuster. So, there's that. And now all of a sudden they're up on top of Blockbuster's house and like looking in and trying to, they're about to break in and take down Blockbuster. We're just off to that point already. We moved very quickly through things, but who's going to stop them? It's the Stallion and Lady Vic. And they still are doing some witty banter. What are they going to do? Well, Batman says, I'll handle it. You go after it, which, for a second I object. He's distracting them. Batman's just going to hold them off so that he can go get Blockbuster. Okay, sure. Then there's a fight scene that breaks out. And he learned his lesson last time. He's got this like red thing on his back. So while Batman is handling the two of them up top, Nightwing is down here with this guy with some little new toy that really packs a punch and hits him and knocks him down. And it actually hurt him for a change. But he gets back up. So what is he going to do? Well, he's down in the basement now. He knocked him down there. And Blockbuster, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the last arc of what we were doing, how he got away from Blockbuster at one point was just avoiding and dodging, and then Blockbuster's missed hits take down the support beams, and then the building comes crashing down. Didn't we do this once already? Didn't this already happen? But okay, yeah, sure. And then, well, that's the end of that, and they're back in the car, and he's got to get back to Gotham, but he's proud of him, and he smiles. And Blockbuster's obviously still alive, sure. And that's issue 15. 16. What could this be? Nightwing standing mostly in the dark, and it looks like the headlights to a car with some kind of specific blue symbols. Interesting. Interesting. So Nightwing is here. He's got to stop these guys, of course. We always got to open up with crime, and you also notice that the title of this one is Wheels. Given that in the cover, I think you know where this is going. It's time to do some car shopping. I am getting myself a car. Got to stop by the bank first, check out about that trust fund, and there's the current balance. It's apparently so much he's shocked. Now, I'm curious at this point, did his parents really have a trust fund, or was this Bruce's doing? I don't know. They don't really talk about that. Back to Soames. Oh no, Soames is finally awake. He's not having it good. He's going to ruin the surgery. What's going on? Why won't they just let him die? Dick's not exactly buying the car you might think. In the same way, I thought, okay, he's going to go buy a car. Dick Grayson, buy a car, sure. Well, maybe not so much. He does kind of need something more than just off the shelf. So instead, he bought an old car dealership. And I guess that's because they have the mechanical things here. Anyway, now he has to assemble the perfect vigilante ride. So I didn't know about this. He just brings in and starts working on equipment. He's very mechanically handy and just builds a car. What? Okay. I didn't realize this. This is interesting. I certainly didn't expect that he was just going to build himself a car. I guess maybe Bruce taught him how or something. I don't know. He picked it up at some point. He can just build a car. That's certainly a skill that's handy to have. Oh, that's right. We get a little bit of a side story with Tad here. Tad's talking to somebody, an old guy who was the Tarantula. There's like a writer, a comic book maybe, or maybe it's just books. I don't know. But like big fan. He wants him to sign it. But it's just Tad, so I'm immediately suspicious. But anyway, Nightwing, still working on his car in his mechanic clothes, is giving a call to Barbara, trying to get her to look up some information for him. A little bit more with the landlady, what's going on there and stuff, but more Tad, right? Okay, so they are just books written by John Law. That's this guy here. He was an old vigilante who then hung it up and started writing stories instead. Probably embellished a bit. I don't know if they specifically said that, but anyway, he's there, and then you see Tad get, mad about what's going on the block and how he needs to become, this stuff. But he's real scary throughout the whole thing. He basically forced his way into this guy's home to get him to sign these things and then talk to him about this. And he's like, right, whew. Yeah, I can't blame him. Tad seems like a pretty unhinged individual at this point. That little bit with the landlady was about some people selling color TVs for super cheap, which is funny to me, color TV specifically. I don't know if we ever had a TV, at least far back as I can remember. I'm pretty sure maybe we did have a black and white one at one point. I'm older, younger, whatever. So that bit with the landlady where it was about her getting like some color TVs for super cheap out of the back of somebody's truck. So obviously, Nightwing, why not give a new ride a test? What's going on there? How about that? That's cool. Did I skip the bit? Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize this. I did skip a little bit here that was actually pretty important. It's this guy all dressed up. This is Dick Grayson. He's in disguise, and he's like, I want this one and that one and a truck cab and that taxi. He's buying all these things there and then just paying with cash to not ask questions. He's like in a junkyard type situation. That comes into play later. But anyway, so here we go, and here's the Nightwing mobile, and there's where the body came from, right? He's got all this stuff. Still more bats. Bats are just everywhere. Do they summon bats? Do they kind of bring bats with them? I don't actually know if that's significant or if that's just, we're going to draw a page, let's put bats on it. So, sure, he's made an insane car that can do ridiculous things for the times of 97 and 640 horsepower under this thing because he built it himself. He can obviously now catch up to these bad guys. And he's got like bulletproof, bullet absorbing, so there's no ricochet windshield for people who shoot at him where it just absorbs bullets. Strange, but he stops the guys who stole all the color TVs, catches up with them, beats them up, and then drives away in the Dickmobile, which definitely needs a much better name than that. I don't think he actually calls it that. He's just been referring to it as his wheels. But anyway, here's our cliffhanger for the ending. Who's that looming? Ooh, I actually have seen this guy before. I know who this is. But anyway. Ooh, and I'm sure he's also been around. Ooh, issue 17, almost at the end here. And you can see from the cover, there's a bit of a tussle with Man-Bat. The stalking skies. Gross. What is going on here with Blockbuster? So we're back on Soames here. He's, they brought him out of surgery and he's asking, oh, how long until I can turn my head back around? And they're like, you didn't realize that's medically impossible. It's never going to happen. Yeah. And he's just reasonably unhappy about that. Can't take the car here now. Too many switchbacks, old stuff. So he's once again flinging through the skies like Nightwing does, or acrobats, Sure. Up on top of the rooftops, he's trying to take down a pair of safari hunters shooting at this person. And he's looking through all this stuff. He doesn't understand why until he sees their target. Oh, right. He hasn't seen it. We saw the looming threat. He thinks it's Batman who's just shown up here again, which, you get the reason from just the shadows and stuff. He thinks that's the target. It's not. It's the ice cream man. What is this ad for? Sega? Why? It's Man-Bat. Not Bruce. Not Batman. Not hardly a man at all. So that's going on. He gets away, so he goes back to talk to the hunters, and they weren't trying to kill him. They were firing tranquilizer rounds. Ah, of course. Jump to a lady, Francine Langstrom. Now, I don't know what's going on at this point because although I've heard of Man-Bat, I don't know anything about his backstory. So if you know, you know. But I'd start learning into this, figuring out what's going on and what's happening there. We'll talk more about that later because her husband, Kirk, is gone, is dead, is gone. All I see is, yeah. So, talked about it in the last issue. This is why he bought all the different bodies. He's hot swapping them so that his car is just the big engine and underneath with everything. And he just pulls it in, and the body just like slaps down on top. And that's genius. So now he's in a taxi, a 640 horsepower taxi. That's really cool. Just I don't know why this would be a cool little section of a video game if they made a Nightwing video game where you could just like quick drive into one of your garages and hot swap the car, and then the police don't know and then you're just a taxi that can go insanely fast. Anyway, more landlady and Tad. Oh, this is cool. Okay. So this is where, okay, so because I read them digitally, the comics for this part, this is the first time that I've ever actually opened any of these comics, and I see now this Nightwing Nightwing half, I don't know what you call it. I do actually have this issue, and I saw that it's something I did not know. This is really cool. There's a mail order. This is how you got this. It was a whole thing with Wizards, I think. Wizard Comics, or maybe this was just who did the promotional. I don't know. That's really cool. We'll talk about that in a future episode, I think. So once again, Dick turning her down, the landlady Clancy, who's just trying to, watch a movie. Just watch a movie, I'm sure. But anyway, so somebody wants to rent a room, and their shadow is ginormous. My immediate thought is Blockbuster. He's figured out his identity, and he's come to take him down by moving into his building. That's where I'm thinking at this point. He's tracking Man-Bat. He's trying to figure out what's going on here. He's headed towards the city with all the lights so that he can eat moths, I think. I guess that's what he's, bat-like, so that kind of makes sense. And yes, I confirm my suspicions here of what was going on. He refers to him as Kirk. He's specifically trying to capture him. I don't know the backstory here. I don't know exactly who Kirk Langstrom was, but clearly something went wrong, scientific experiment maybe, turned him into Man-Bat, and Nightwing is still taking the opportunity to try to save him and bring him back, but he's, fighting him, obviously. We get a whole thing here where he's captured him just about, but then gets away, drags him through traffic, slamming on rooftops, takes him up into the air, hoping he can carry both of them for his weight. And then he almost has him. It seems like, tranquilizers all over the place. And you know who else gets tranked? It's Nightwing. Oh no. So there are all kinds of stuff. The Safari Hunters must be back again. Nope. Deathstroke. He's all blue. I haven't seen him like this before, but that's where we end out with issue 17. We are on to the last one. A blue Deathstroke is on the cover. That's pretty cool. I kind of like this outfit. I know the ones I'm familiar with are more like blue and orange, but this is just like all blue. A captured Man-Bat. This is the Hunting Moon, issue 18. And Deathstroke with this guy, Rudy. So I don't know quite what's going on at this point. Deathstroke is working for this guy, Rudy, capturing Man-Bat and possibly others for money. That makes sense. Deathstroke's whole thing, Nessie? It would take money, lots and lots of money. Side note, as just like a separate little story arc, another individual issue, Deathstroke going after the Loch Ness Monster. That would be cool. I'd read that. So we got to check back in. Nightwing is back with Francine, telling her that he got away, but he has an idea because he did see Deathstroke. So, he has an idea of why they'd want to do it, and maybe more ambitious than a circus sideshow, but in the same kind of spirit. Off everything he can do. He's made the promise. It's a big promise, but he's definitely going to have to, hold up to that. I think he can do it. It's Nightwing. Big shadow guy. So now we're back to this. His upstairs neighbor sounds like elephants. Who is it? Is it Blockbuster? What's going on? No, it's Amygdala. Who is this guy? I know nothing about this guy. So this is clearly someone that they've already, done and covered in previous issues of other things, since clearly we're reading all of Nightwing. So this must have been maybe this was Teen Titans, maybe this was Batman. I don't know, but Amygdala, just another ginormous guy. There's a lot of this going around, just massive people, absolutely 8 feet tall monsters. Hilarious. So, Barbara's in the chair and everything, clearly does not skip arm day. Just absolutely shredded. Anyway, so, she's there and she's talking to Dick and they're, trying to do this stuff. He's using her for information, Oracle, the whole thing there. I wonder how much easier her job got when Google came around. And then how much worse it would be today, still trying to use Google for literally anything useful. We get a little bit of Tad reading the story of the tarantula, the vigilante. He's just reading in through that and then dreaming of what the town, his little block needs, a guy just like that guy. But he needs a better name than Tad Ryerstad. Is that really his name? Tad Ryerstad? Okay. But anyway, better watch out. Come on, Tad. Why'd you calm down? Nightwing, the talk with Oracle. Here's what's going on. They piece it together. They figure out what's going on and check the news to see what's Rudy. Rudy is captured Man-Bat and is selling videos of it, videos on demand. It is 1997. Actually, we might be into 1998 at this point. It's been, yes, March of 98. So that's their whole thing there. That's where it's captured. Now Dick has somewhere he can go. When did he get a boat? Is this his car still with a different shell? Is this a holdover? Did he never had a car, but the Burrs gave him a boat? What? Anyway, he sneaks on board, drops down into trying to get to where Man-Bat is, and of course walks into a trap. Look, it's Deathstroke. He was waiting. What a surprise. Now we get some cool fight scene with Deathstroke and Nightwing. Hey, I don't know about this one. Maybe after we read all of Nightwing, I'll get to reading all of Batman and I'll figure out when Deathstroke and Batman went at it and Batman took his sword, because that's, interesting. So really, really intense fight scene when they do stuff like this to try to cram as much action into one, I'd say panel, but really this is a whole page, isn't it? But like here and then here and then here and then here and then here, like, right? It's pretty cool. But of course, up, up and away goes the Man-Bat, and Nightwing just kind of bounces out of there. There we go. Now he's holding twice his weight and Man-Bat's pulling up and taking off, and there they go out into the thing. He's trying to get Deathstroke to go after them. Oh, nope, that's not Deathstroke's policy. Gun to face. Oh, I see. And away it goes. He's free. So that didn't happen. Wait, that's the whole arc? Wait, what? So yeah, that's the whole arc. Everything that happened there. I didn't really expect that. I kind of figured that we'd be coming back around to some of the plot lines that we set up from before. Nope, this entire series, this Rough Justice arc was just kind of like a couple issues for this plot point. We went through Scarecrow. We got a lot of stuff going on with Tad and Soames. We had a little arc with Batman showing up and all of Dick's feelings about that. That happened. Like just little individual things that kind of took place. It wasn't one big overarching story like some of these other arcs have been. It was just a couple of smaller ones, which, to be fair, I actually kind of liked better because I stuck to the story a bit more. And it was like, oh, this and now this. It was kind of more bite-sized, easier for me to get. And it didn't bore me like the previous episode where I was just like, yeah, okay, this is going along. And then it got better by the end of it and kept me going. But this one was pretty riveting throughout the entire way through. And there we go. That was Nightwing Rough Justice, which covered issues 9 through 18. Next month, I'll be reading essentially what's collected as Nightwing Love and Bullets, which is Nightwing 1/2, number 19, but not number 20, and then 21 and 22, and then 24 and 29. So what I'll actually be doing is reading Nightwing 1/2 and then reading 19 through 29, and then we'll just talk about everything there. I'm not sure why they didn't collect some of those issues, but I'm sure we'll find out next time. See you next month.